Did you know that if you go to the eShop website and you sort by game type, there is no platformer section? Even though Super Mario Bros. U is classified as a platformer on the eShop. There are a ton of platformers on the Switch. It also just so happens to be my favorite game genre, so I play a lot of them. And of those, my favorite are 2D platformers. I get a lot of requests to do a video like this, and every time I think to myself, ugh, nobody wants to see me talk about that. And then after the 86th, 87th time, now here we are, talking about my favorite 2D platformers on the Nintendo Switch. This video is sponsored by Dollar Shave Club. Dollar Shave Club for all of your grooming needs, shower, oral care, deodorant, and of course, shaving. Get started with the Ultimate Shave Starter Set with Dr. Carver's Prep Scrub to help release and prevent ingrown hairs, shave butter that's transparent for a more precise shave. My favorite, the epic, new, matte black metal handle and extra close blades. And post-shave dew to help hydrate and relieve on contact. I got the green screen all wet. This place is a wreck. Anyway, get your own Ultimate Shave Starter Set for just $5 by going to dollarshaveclub.com/Wulff and round out your grooming routine by adding any of their other high-quality products. After that, razors ship at regular price. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Wulff, or just click the link in the description below. A lot of people in my little YouTube circle have been noticing that YouTube is pushing our videos out to less subscribers. So if you want to keep seeing these videos, it really helps to have that bell turned on so you get notifications and you actually click those notifications. Don't turn that bell on if you're not going to click those notifications. If you somehow got here from the home page or through a suggested feed, that's an anomaly. And if you really don't want to turn on those notifications, at the very least, like this video if you like content like this, so YouTube knows to keep pushing you stuff like that. But you don't want to rely on YouTube. You should really just subscribe and come here every week because I post a video every week. I don't normally like to rank things, but this is like the only topic where I actually feel qualified to put things in a rank order because I've played pretty much all of these games extensively. I shouldn't really have to state this, but this is my opinion, and this is my list, nobody else's list. This isn't a committee of people here. I'm not IGN or anything. This is just my list with my opinions. So with that comes all of my own preferences and my own biases. It's perfectly healthy and normal for you to disagree with some of the things I put on this list, or maybe the rank that they're put there in, or maybe some of the opinions that I have. And I encourage you to vocalize those opinions that you have in the comments below. That being said, let's start off with Sega Genesis Classics Collection. The way this collection is presented is beautiful. The menu is stylized as a 90s bedroom, complete with game posters on the wall and a nice fat CRT right in the corner. Most people are getting this collection for Sonic the Hedgehog 1 and 2. Now, I grew up with the Sega Genesis, so this is where part of my bias comes in. But I've got no problem admitting that Sonic the Hedgehog 1 is hot trash. Sonic 2 pretty much makes this collection. There are other great platformers on here like Vector Man 1 and 2. Gunstar Heroes is more of a Contra-style bullet hell shooter than a platformer, but that's also a great game. I'd say the best game on this entire list is actually Shinobi 3, Return of the Ninja Master. It's such a great platforming shooter. Dive kicking onto multiple enemies, double jumping to throw multiple shooty can. Oh my god, I feel like I sound like such a nerd. Throw multiple shooty can. All of the mechanics are super satisfying. And the game's difficulty seems fair, especially if you're utilizing the save states that this collection comes with. It is a relatively long game. All right, It is hard to pin this game up against the juggernaut that is Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Maybe we can say that they're both neck and neck. But if this collection had Sonic the Hedgehog 3, that would be another story, because that game is, I think, the best Sonic game ever made. Sega really has to figure out whatever legal garbage is keeping Sonic the Hedgehog 3 from being ported to other consoles and being included in collections like this, because that would make this whole collection up a few more notches on this list. But definitely don't skip on this collection. It's $30 with some amazing stuff on here, and it has a Metacritic score of 80. In the beginning of this list at the bottom, we're going to be talking about a lot of old stuff, so bear with me here. The original Super Meat Boy is one of the best platformers of all time and definitely deserves a spot on this list. It's known for being brutally hard, but its levels are super short, which provides a very fair amount of checkpoints. Just expect to be playing levels a lot before you get that clear. You learn a little bit from each death, but it never feels like the death was out of your control. It controls a lot like Mario, just faster, harder, and more brutal. There's a reason why people made Meat Boy inspired levels in the original Mario Maker. There is a sequel that was recently released called Super Meat Boy Forever, and it was very good, but it did not make it onto this list. It's an auto runner, which doesn't make it bad. I just think having more control lends itself well to a game like this. If you try the first Super Meat Boy and love it, I do highly recommend checking out the sequel, because I did have a lot of fun with it. The original Super Meat Boy is $15 and has a Metacritic score of 84, but a 90 on Xbox 360, the platform it was originally released for. I kind of wanted to space out all of the Sonic love on here because I know a lot of you guys are going to roll your eyes to the side of the guy, but Sonic Mania is the best thing to come out of the franchise since 1994. Sega hired what were essentially fan game developers to create a whole new 2D Sonic experience. The result is a beautiful journey through Sonic's history, with remixes of old levels, nods to old and obscure characters, some really special new levels that feel like 90s Sonic, but are wholly original and fun in today's gaming zeitgeist. The addition of the Encore DLC adds 2 more obscure playable characters, and a game mode that has you cycle through all of the characters as you die, which switches up the gameplay in such an interesting way. It's incredible that they were able to take such a simple formula that's over 20 years old and change it just enough to make it refreshing and still fit within the parameters of an OG Sonic game. And it wasn't even the main Sonic team at Sega that did this. It was essentially just a bunch of fans. Sonic Mania is $20 with a Metacritic score of 86. The Encore DLC is $5 extra. I remember it being sold as a bundle called Sonic Mania Plus, but I think that that's only physical, and it's currently marked up on Amazon right now, so only get that if you're a collector. If you want the game, you should probably just purchase it digitally. Shovel Knight is another oldie, and I'll have to admit I haven't actually touched it since it originally came out on the 3DS, but that doesn't make it any less of an amazing experience here on the Switch. It's like an NES game that never could have happened on the NES, with game design masterfully crafted through decades of reflection on some of the great 8 and 16-bit games. Did that sound pretentious enough for you? It's mostly a platformer, but you get your shovel to pogo on enemies and dig your way through certain areas. There's a lot packed into this game. The main Shovel Knight game is probably enough for you, but the Treasure Trove pack adds 3 more playable characters, each with their own unique mechanics and changes to the gameplay. I'm gonna be real with you. The Treasure Trove is pretty expensive at $40. Shovel Knight Shovel of Hope is the meat of the game that you're probably looking for, and that's only $15. But if you think you would want to play a lot more of the game and explore all of the other characters that the Treasure Trove has, there is a lot packed into the Treasure Trove and can extend your gameplay by a lot. If you're just looking to plow through the main game, get Shovel of Hope for cheap. If you want a lot of content, go ahead and get the Treasure Trove, because it is worth it if you're going to play all of that. Anyway, Shovel Knight Treasure Trove has a Metacritic score of 91, which is very high. If you think we're done with the old games, you'd be wrong. People like to paint me as a Mega Man fan, and it's true I do like Mega Man a lot, but I don't want people to get the wrong idea. I haven't really played that many Mega Man games. I don't really like the original Mega Man games on the NES. The first game is a bad game. It's bad. I played a lot of Mega Man 3. That's what I had growing up. I was terrible at it, though. I used the Game Genie a lot, but I did enjoy myself while I played it. Now, Mega Man X absolutely perfects the formula. And I didn't even grow up with the Super Nintendo, so I have zero nostalgia for Mega Man X. And Mega Man X is available in the first Mega Man X Legacy Collection. It's game design perfection. You have the dashing, you have the charge shot, you have wall jumping, you have all of the robot master abilities. And the game does a fantastic job of teaching the player all these mechanics without explicitly telling you anything. The only thing it does not teach you is enemy weaknesses. The game is very hard, unless you play the levels in a certain order and use the boss abilities against each other, playing to their weaknesses. I highly recommend looking up the boss order before you play this game. Now, I haven't played through the rest of the games in this collection. I played a little bit of Mega Man X2, but that's really it. I just think that the original Mega Man X is worth the price of admission alone for this collection. So just play Mega Man X, and if you like that, then you can move on to the other games in the collection, which I hear are also awesome. There's also a second Mega Man X Legacy Collection, which isn't as good. So don't get that one unless you really love Mega Man X. And there's also a Mega Man Zero collection, which is also awesome. But Mega Man Zero is way harder. So maybe get Mega Man X first. And if you really love that, go over to Mega Man Zero and try that out. Anyway, the X Legacy Collection is $20 and has a Metacritic score of 84. Oh, wait. You thought we were done talking about the old shit? LOL is what I wrote in the script. Consider yourself lucky, though, because I decided to bunch all of these collections into one. I was originally going to talk about each individual game. Anyway, don't sleep on the Super Nintendo Switch Online games. I know you are sick of hearing me talk about it, but it's good shit in there. The NES collection, not as good. Don't even worry about it. The best games on the Super Nintendo collection are Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars, which has some of the best stuff from the NES collection, so don't even worry about it. There are also games like Super Metroid, which some would consider among the best platformers ever created, but I haven't played it for more than like an hour. Please don't tell Reddit. I'd also recommend Yoshi's Island, but if you had to pick one game from this collection to play, make it Super Mario World. It's one of the best designed, most satisfying Mario games ever created. It paved the way for every 2D platformer after it. Super Mario 3 is also good, but it also gets very hard.
Perfect run, frame perfect, frame perfect, frame... Oh, frame perfect, dude. Frame perfect. I hate my life.
So unless you're a huge Mario fan, maybe get your way through World first. Anyway, the SNES Switch Online collection comes with your Nintendo Switch Online subscription. So technically it's $20 a year. And I'm not doing a Metascore. These games are mostly 10 out of 10s. Absolute classics. People have been bringing up The Messenger a lot recently because of how similar it is to Cyber Shadow, which just came out. Just came out? Everything. This time has been going so fast because I'm old. I have a really hard time pinning these two games against each other. They're both very good. And even though they're both so similar, they both tackle the genre in their own unique way and do a fantastic job in their own right. They're both takes on the old Ninja Gaiden NES games, but they do a better job of making the gameplay feel smoother and more intuitive. The Messenger is way more tongue-in-cheek and doesn't take itself too seriously. The camera is zoomed out a little more and the levels are cut up into segments similar to Shovel Knight or Celeste. Slight spoilers for The Messenger, but somewhere around halfway through the game, there's a time shift and it turns into a 16-bit styled game all of a sudden. You switch back and forth between the two styles. It's really cool. Both The Messenger and Cyber Shadow have you gaining abilities throughout that add up over time, making you feel like an absolute powerhouse as you're utilizing everything that you've learned to traverse the levels. I think The Messenger piles these abilities on a bit harder than Cyber Shadow, with abilities that let you glide and a grappling hook of sorts, and the game kind of forces you to chain all of this stuff together. Cyber Shadow has you gain new abilities over time, but they're a little more simplistic and focus more on attacks than movement. Cyber Shadow has minimal controls, but you can do a lot with those minimal controls. They're both very difficult. Cyber Shadow might be slightly harder with slightly less forgiving checkpoints. If you had a gun to my head and asked me which one of these two were better, I would say just do it already. I'm ready. No, I would probably say Cyber Shadow. It wins by like a hair, just because I like the level design and the boss battles slightly more. Or maybe it's better just because it's newer and fresher in my mind. Anyway, they're both $20. The Messenger has a Metacritic score of 86, and Cyber Shadow has a Metascore of 81. So I guess Metacritic doesn't agree with me on this one. If it wasn't clear, that was number 4 and number 3, Cyber Shadow being number 3. Celeste is my second favorite 2D platformer on the Switch, and I haven't even collected all of the B-sides or played any of the post-game levels yet. Celeste is strictly a platformer. You play the levels in chunks. It kind of reminds me a lot of Super Meat Boy. It's probably equally as hard, but way more adorable. There's no blood, for one. You just kind of wall jump and dash through areas, but the level design is the main focus here. There's also a ton of content and collectibles to unlock that keep you playing way past the main game if you need more. It could take you 8 hours to play the main game, or 40 if you're a completionist, so there's plenty there for you. It's very easy to just pick up and start playing, but it could get brutally hard as you keep going. I wouldn't recommend putting this game down for too long, or else you might lose your Celeste skills. It's actually what kept me from picking up the DLC. I was afraid I lost my touch. I did actually pick it up and start playing it for the B-roll of one of my videos, and I completely lost my way. I was like stuck. It was very hard. There are very forgiving checkpoints. It just might be frustrating for people who have a problem playing a short section 100 times before they get it right. Definitely check this out if you haven't already. It's currently $20 and has a Metacritic score of 92. The highest on this list by 1. You know what my favorite 2D platformer is. I should probably do the honorable mentions here right now first before I get into that. I like Super Mario U Deluxe a lot, but it is not as good as any of the other games I already talked about. It is great if you want to play with a second player though, or even a third or a fourth. Hollow Knight is also fantastic and has a huge cult following. I always get asked questions about Hollow Knight, and people always get mad when I say I'm not a huge fan of the Metroidvania style. So if you're into that, you'll probably love Hollow Knight. Another game with a huge cult following is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and another fan base that gets mad at me because I never played the game. I played Ori and the Blind Forest, and I thought that was like, okay. So I was never too jazzed about jumping into Will of the Wisps. But it does have a 93 on Metacritic, so maybe I'm capping. Let me use another word. Don't put that in. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze sucks. I don't give a fuck about how important that is to the franchise or whatever. The game kills you in ways you can't possibly be expected to see coming. Hate that game. Trash level design. Cuphead is very hard, and I'd consider that less of a platformer and more of a shooter. Katana Zero is a phenomenal game, but it's not really a platformer, so I didn't put it here. Okay, my favorite 2D platformer is Super Mario Maker 2, and you all saw that coming if you've ever seen this channel before. It's the definitive Super Mario experience if somebody took that experience and put it in a blender and then threw it all over the wall. It's the Jackson Pollock of Mario games. It's like if Reddit decided to make a 2D Mario game. Someone once described it to me as a Mario post as a game. It's so good and such a uniquely weird experience. The Mario formula translates so well into a maker format. Anybody can make a level that is at least decent using the tools that Nintendo provides you, because Mario's mechanics and enemies are just that good. But fans come up with such unique creations, things that Nintendo never would have ever come up with themselves or put into a Mario game. It's unlike any Mario game before it, and unlike anything that will come after unless it's another Maker game. Where 2D Mario usually has perfectly polished level design, Mario Maker allows Mario to get weird with it. And the difficulty is wherever you want it to be. If you want to take it easy, you can just find some creative and fun levels. You can even play the single player, which is very good. If you think you're a pro, you can crank that bitch up to 11. I'm not a Kaizo player myself. Shell hops are a bit of a problem for me, but I'm currently in the middle of playing through Ross's Super World. It is a frustrating mess, but I love it so much. If you haven't been able to tell, I'm the type of guy who is totally comfortable playing a level over and over and over again until I finally get it right. And I understand that that's not for everybody. Some people are gonna have a problem with that, and some people might find that as a weird type of difficult, but that's something that I'm into. The what do you call it? You're kind of like brute forcing your way through a level. The Ninja speedruns kept me coming back to the game. Those were Nintendo-made levels that had players competing for the best time, but unfortunately, they just stopped doing those. As of right now, Super Mario Maker 2 is kind of on the back burner. Nintendo did provide a decent amount of updates, like adding the Link power-up and the Mario 2 power-up, which greatly changed the way builders can design levels. I definitely just talked about it in a video. I'll put that up here. But unfortunately, there's not going to be any new major updates to this game. Hopefully, this just means that Mario Maker 3D is on the horizon. Mario Maker 2 didn't really add that much that Mario Maker 1 didn't already have. It did add a great multiplayer versus mode that was greatly hindered by Nintendo's awful online experience. Something that they're potentially fixing for future games. So if we do get a new Mario Maker 2, it's possible the online will actually be playable, as evident to the Monster Hunter online that is apparently using a new type of online structure. So hopefully their future games will use that same thing, because Monster Hunter ran great. All right, I talked way too much about these games. I hit the character limit in Google Keep, and that has never happened to me before. Anyway, what do you guys think about all these 2D platformers that I have in this list and the order that I put them in? Do you think that they're in the wrong order? Do you think some games are better than others? Did I leave anything out? Did I not talk about anything that you think I probably should have? Leave it in the comments below. At me on Twitter and any and all this other social media garbage. You're going to want to head over to twitch.tv/WulffDen and hang out with us over there, especially tonight when this video goes live, because I'm going to be I'm dressing up as this, because some arbitrary sub goal was made that nobody put me up to. I just put that out in the world because I didn't think it would happen, and it happened. So go over there and patronize me. But the most important thing that you can do to help support this channel, like we talked about already, is just subscribe and turn those notifications on, because YouTube has been crappy at letting subs know when new videos go out. And share this video with a friend who is maybe into games like this and is looking for some new stuff to play. Or maybe they just got a Switch and they need a bunch of stuff to play. Most of these, I think all of these games are under $20, except for this Genesis collection is $30. Thank you very much. Have yourself a very good week. I got nowhere to go. I'm like really close to the camera.